So we got a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, which I knew was getting made, and it was one of those things where it was like, is this ever going to come out? Is this ever going to get made? And then Netflix kind of dropped a trailer for this out of nowhere, and I was like, okay, that's not usually a great sign. And then they weren't sending out screeners, and I was like, that's not a good sign. And then I watched the trailer, and we watched the trailer together, yeah. Mm-hmm. And we both were like, okay, actually, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, gave me a little bit of hope. So, anyway, obviously, we watched it today. I wish I could have watched it last night, but, sleep is necessary at times.
Unfortunately.
We actually just got this pillow today, and she got this.
Blanket?
Yeah. So it was like perfectly right in time for the movie.
Yeah.
She got this doll and this, and I actually got a fucking a Leatherface doll there too from NECA just a week or two ago. So got a lot of Leatherface stuff recently. Anyways, so all right, really quick, just a quick rundown of our thoughts on the franchise for anybody who's new to the franchise. I think hers are real close to mine. You can speak up if yours differs. But first is, it's the classic. It's, everybody loves it for a reason. Well, not everybody, but mostly everybody. But we love it. The second one is a film that I didn't really get when I was a kid. But as I grew up, there was this, appreciation that started to form for it. And now I absolutely love it. It's very zany. It's very kooky. It's
wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's just and I totally get when people don't like it. It's just such a departure from the tone of the first.
Oh, yes.
And then the third one is just kind of repetitive and kind of boring. And the fourth one is just insane and not in a great way. But I do love Matthew McConaughey in it. But that's about it. Other than that, the movie it's wacko.
Yeah.
And then the remake, I love. The prequel to the remake, I really like. I think it's a cool entry and prequel. And then Texas 3D, not a fan. And Leatherface, not a fan. So that's my thoughts on the franchise.
Yeah,
I think that's
basically the same.
I figured it was about the same. So that's where we lie. So if your tastes line up with ours, then maybe this will be the same for this one. So there's a lot of talk about this one, as there is going to be with any major franchise putting out a new film. Halloween, Friday the 13th, Child's Play, whatever, Nightmare on Elm Street. This is in that category, and this is like the big one. This is one of the big franchises. So everyone's gonna be talking about this movie right now, and I've heard a lot of opinions. There's been a lot of people who loved it, a lot of people who hated it, and a lot of people who are in the middle. Personally, I was shocked by this movie because I honestly had a really bad feeling about this one. I thought this was probably going to be terrible or was going to let me down, but
you were really nervous going in.
I loved it. I did. I'm such a fan of this movie. I'm really surprised. I shouldn't say surprised. I shouldn't be surprised by anything anybody thinks anymore.
Yeah.
In the backlash or anything gets anymore.
I mean, I didn't read any of the commentary that people are kind of putting out about this movie, so all I saw was the trailer, and I liked it, and I love the movie. And from what you were telling me, that people were having issues with dumb character decisions, and I mean, we were talking throughout. There was nothing aside from maybe one minor character's silly decision, but everything that everyone did made complete sense to me, and I love this story. I love the new characters introduced, and anyway, we could talk more about it, but
we will.
I don't know what people are disliking about it as far as a slasher film goes and a reboot.
Oh, they'll tell us in the comments.
Wonderful. It was wonderful to me, on almost every level. I don't really have anything, maybe it would change with subsequent viewings, but right now I don't really have any problem with the film as it stands.
Yeah, I don't really have much either. So as far as a quick synopsis, if you didn't see the trailer, these kids come to this part of Texas, Harlow, and they want to revitalize it. They're going to try to sell it to all these people, and they're going to try to reinvigorate this town, and they're trying to get away from the city. They feel like there's these big city problems because one of the characters' sisters went through a tragedy, and they're just done with the city. They're going to try to start anew, start something fresh, their own little community, and they think they're going to get away from big city problems. And unfortunately, there's problems wherever you go. There's small town problems, and obviously Leatherface runs amok and kills a bunch of people, and you get it. Now, okay, so this is what I want to say about this. Number one, when it pertains to this franchise, and then number two will be pertaining to slashers in general. So when it comes to this franchise, especially when we take the gold standard, the original, you have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which this one is called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so the title isn't exactly accurate. It's kind of like Final Destination and The Final Destination, except for in reverse here because they dropped the. But yeah, this is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. The drop is not like enough for me, but it is a minor change. So at least it is a different title.
Yeah. It's so minor that it's like...
I don't know.
I don't know. I think people are still going to be calling it the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Sure. I feel like everybody calls the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. Because I don't almost ever throw the on it.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't matter.
Either way.
Anyways, so that being said, the original film... Because people are in the comments talking about how, the plot of this, the characters of this, and this and that. Guys, I hate to break it to you. The characters and the story in the original fucking movie are almost non-existent. Like, there is no plot, almost at all. And the characters are very one-dimensional. There's nothing there going with these characters. No. The thing that makes the original... so great is the grittiness, is the realistic feeling of it all. You almost feel like you're watching a documentary. I feel like the lack of character adds to the authenticity because these are like 20-something-year-olds that are just hanging out, and witty banter and antics and whatnot are not part of real life. Like, when you hang out with your friends, a lot of the times it doesn't match up to, like, what's happening in film.
Sure, well,
if you filmed some, like, friends hanging out, it wouldn't really be all that interesting.
No, I mean, sure, there's moments where you're having, like, funny conversations.
Sure.
And there's that vibe going on. But for the most part, yeah, it's obviously real life isn't always like the movies.
But, so, anyway, it's just that the characters and the story, there is none. Okay, so when people are like talking about it with this franchise, it's laughable to me. It's like, when was this character known? When was this franchise known for deep character development and rich plot lines? And come on. Just come on. With this fucking franchise, are you kidding me? And this one has better characters.
Oh,
this
absolutely.
one has a more interesting storyline.
Absolutely.
So to me, that's just and that's like, oh my god, that's blasphemy to some people because the old is gold, right? The original, everything in the original is perfect, and nothing could ever be better in any way, shape, or form. Not the characters, not the plot, not the cameras they used were better.
But you can like elements.
The grip on the film was better.
Of a newer remake of a film, you can like the elements better than it was done in the original, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily like the newer movie more than you like the original. Like, sure. You know what I mean? Like, there's still that, like you said, the grittiness and the feel of the original are what make it so amazing. And this movie, it takes a different, atmosphere. It's sort of similar, but not really the same. And I like that it's different.
Sure. It's got a new sheen to it,
yes.
Right? It's more modern. And that might not work for some people, but my second point being towards slashers in general is that people are so much more critical, so much harder on slashers of today than they were in the 80s. Like, they're talking about dumb character decisions, but then they, like, throw fucking movies like The Mutilator or something up on their shoulders, and they're like, oh, it's such a great slasher.
And
The characters are dumb as fuck. They make every wrong decision imaginable in the
100,
movie.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, slasher movies are filled. Like, that's Scream is like that movie that everyone loves that it, like, points out that these movies are just fucking filled with bad character decisions. And here's the biggest irony of it all. This film has the least amount I've seen in a slasher movie in a while. There's very little dumb character decisions going on in this movie. But then they fucking, like, hold in such high regard these slasher movies of the 80s. This is, like, as I said, the gold standard. And it's like, they make the dumbest fucking... Laurie Strode throws down the weapon multiple times next to his body.
She's one of the most beloved
Are you
final
kidding?
girls.
Could you imagine, in modern day, I've talked about this before, in Halloween, if Halloween 1978 was fucking released today, and Laurie Strode, like, picks up the knife and then drops it next to the body. Then she stabs him in the chest and drops the fucking knife next to his body again. Mm-hmm. People would be livid.
Oh my god.
That is the most beloved slasher film ever made. But people are bitching about the character decisions and that they make dumb decisions now. They're not thinking straight. Like
no.
They got that, like, it is. It's because it's now.
Sure.
What are the dumb decisions being made in this movie that are, like, so beyond, like, I can't even watch? Oh my god, it's so insane to me that they do that.
I don't have any.
There's like, not really, like, there's
the one...
You could say,
okay,
right?
What could you say?
No, I'm not going to say because it's spoiler free, but you could say certain things, and it's that thing I hate. It's well, this is what I do.
Sure.
Right, but it's like...
But that's, that's such a... It's hard to put yourself in the character's shoes because, like we were talking about, there's something that people could have done, but in moments where you're, like, terrified and freaking out, you aren't thinking straight. And people don't take that into account enough because it's like, oh, they're characters in a movie, so they obviously should be smarter than I would be, or at least as smart as me. But it's just, it doesn't work like that.
Well, okay, let's talk about the film itself. I know we kind of... I'm just annoyed at the moment that there's so many people that are shitting on this movie right now, when I think that this is a really, like, especially in this franchise, where half the films in this franchise to me are not good, and we get something like this that I actually think is really solid, has great kills.
Great. Really
It has cool, like, I liked the characters, and I liked the plot. I liked what they were trying to say. And now, this is a whole nother fucking can of worms, but the whole, like, people who are on the left or the right and are upset about, like, the wokeness or the anti-wokeness, dude, get fucked. Both sides. Both of you get fucked. This is, like, both sides are being, like, represented in different ways in here. You got the cancel culture and you got the anti-cancel culture. You have Leatherface literally murdering cancel culture. Oh, and there's the right that's like, oh my god, do I really have to fucking have woke culture shoved in my face every 5 seconds? To those people, you should be like, yeah, but Leatherface fucking murders cancel culture in this fucking movie, right? And then on the flip side of that, it's like the representation of your people are there, but they're going to be like, oh, well, no, because they're trying to say this.
No, so...
Get fucked!
I actually think that the social setting of the film is very relevant for the world we live in today.
100%.
And also, like
it or not, this is the world we live in now.
It is. And the characters I related to a lot more. Like, so when we watch 80s slashers, like, I can sort of relate to the teens in them a little bit, but not as much because I wasn't a teen in the 80s. Like, I wasn't a teen until the, 2000s. So when I see people that are more my age range in, like, this film specifically, it's cool because it's like, oh yeah, I recognize, like, the behaviors that I do that they're doing. And it's an interesting feeling because for the most part with the slasher movies from the 80s, like, I do have that, like, disconnect. Just because I wasn't alive then.
I'd have to see this a couple more times, but as it stands right now, I would say that this is probably easily in my top 3 of this franchise. I would put it.
For me, for sure.
It would be the original. It'd be the remake, and it would be this. I don't know if I like this more than the remake or not. I'm real close though. I'll say this. This has possibly the scariest Leatherface I've seen.
He's terrifying. He's so scary and so strong and just brutal. Yeah. And it's wonderful. For me, it's the first film, the original, the second one, and then this one.
Yeah, I know you love the second one. The second one would be just after these for me.
Because so great.
I do, like, even though I do love the second one, and the tone is zany and all of that, I do prefer the more serious toned Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, it's just more in line with my taste. But that doesn't mean that I take anything away from the more playful, ridiculous, like, risky films, the Slumber Party Massacre 2s and the House 2s and the movies that kind of just... the Chud 2. Like, I do like that shit. I like the fucking silly ways that these franchises go, or the characters that they try to introduce. But, sticking more to this one, I think,
Leatherface is terrible.
I think and this is another thing I saw a lot of, like, criticism over, like, that this film had no style to it.
Oh my God.
I disagree with that.
Oh,
heavily.
It was so
I thought
stylized.
there was so many great shots.
So many. I was in love with the color palettes too. There's a lot of lighting that happens just throughout the film. That is just, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And I'm shocked that people think it doesn't have style. Because we've watched plenty of movies that are just boring on so many levels, and one of the big elements that's missing is style. And this one did not lack that at all.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I think what people would be talking about there is that this movie doesn't really offer anything new, so to speak. And I can agree with that to a degree. Here's another thing that I really liked about this movie, or I should say just loved. So one of the things I was really nervous about is because I'm not a huge fan of the current Halloween franchise with the 2018 and Halloween Kills. I think they're fine, and I've talked about them enough. You can watch my review, our review on the newest one. So I definitely have, plenty to say about that. But one of the things I really dislike, probably my biggest gripe, I've talked about many, many times, so I'm blue in the face, is bringing Laurie Strode back and how she's shoehorned in, and they have to, structure the whole fucking plot around her, and it's all about conveniences and this and that. So when I saw they were bringing back Sally Hardison from the first film, obviously not Marilyn Burns, she is dead, it's a new actress, but they brought her back, this character, and I was like, oh no. Like, they're taking a page out of the Halloween 2018 playbook, and now we gotta fucking suffer through that again, and it's gonna be plot conveniences and this and that. This is not the case with this movie at all, to me. Like, this one utilizes her really well, and she does not overstay her welcome. There's some actual pretty good surprises in here, things that I was not expecting to happen, characters to die in moments that I was like, didn't expect that, didn't see that coming. I probably should have, but I just thought this movie was going in a different way, and it just didn't. And it's fucking, it's fast paced. It doesn't, it's all, excuse the pun, but it's like all the fucking fat has been trimmed from this. Like,
it's true.
It's really like all killer, no filler for me.
I love it. The pacing is great, and sure, I guess there's not a whole lot of, like a new concept to a slasher movie introduced. Like, it's the formula that you expect, but I think they did it so well.
No, but there is really good character development, and this is with Elsa Fisher. Is that? I think that's her name. The girl from 8th grade. She has a backstory, and we know what they're doing, and then there's something that plays off of that later, and kind of her having to face it. And then there's stuff with Sally at the end that she says to her that really resonated with me. About basically like facing you
The
know.
monsters.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
don't run from it. Like
Yeah.
I loved that
I
shit.
did
I
too.
thought that was great.
It was
And
wonderful. Everything with her, with Sally too, was just, it was great for me. Like there's a scene that happens earlier between her and Leatherface that I loved.
yeah,
I won't
I was into it.
spoil, but-
And you can definitely scream at the screen in a couple of moments like, why aren't you, you know, fighting back? Or why aren't you pulling the trigger? Or I don't know though, like I felt like everything felt justified enough that I was buying it. Like,
I bought
okay,
it
like I can
completely.
see why they did this. Like I never felt like, oh, come on.
No.
Never.
No, not at all. It was always just like the tension of like, oh my god, are they gonna fucking like make it, or is this gonna happen? Like, what's going on? There was only one time really that I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? And it's just the one scene with that one character.
Right. And I do want to do a Slasher Sunday spoiler discussion. That's coming soon. Don't worry. I'll watch this again. We're gonna take notes. We're gonna discuss it in full spoiler. In full spoiler. So look forward to that. But for now, I mean, all I can really say is that people are wrong.
They're wrong.
No, I know. It's
No.
fine. If you don't like it, that's fine. It's just like, if you're not liking this movie because of like you think that they're bashing on the right or the left, some woke culture thing or anti.
It's definitely not
That is such
the
a
focus
silly
of the
reason.
film at all.
No.
It's a good old Leatherface coming around, killing some people, and it's a good time.
Yeah, I like
For
what
us,
this
not
film
them.
has to say. Like, I like where it goes. I like what the characters are doing. Like, I get it. I think this was I thought this was a pretty cool idea of like these kids coming to town. Like, what is a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie supposed to be about?
Oh my gosh.
Like
yeah.
kids just kind of gum out into Texas and they run into Leatherface and he kills them.
100%. That's what happens.
And that's what this is,
Yeah.
except for these kids have an actual reason to be there,
Yes.
right? And there is character development going on with real big city problems.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens with these kinds of movies, and I think this is silly that people are like this. I kind of get it, but at the same time, I think that people forget that film is always a product of its time. You can always see remnants of like the past, which was the present, in older films. If you watch them, there's always stuff. They're always talking about Reagan, or they're always talking. You can always see it. And at that time, it might have been like, oh God. But my point I'm trying to get at is like, I feel like a lot of people want these things to be pure escapism, and they don't want to be reminded of anything that touches upon the things that irk them, whether it's cancel culture or whether it's school shootings, or they're just like, no, like I just want it to be kids who are horny and they go out to fuck and then they run into Leatherface and he cuts them up. And I said this a million times. There's a million of those movies, man.
There is.
There's a million of those movies.
this,
Go watch them.
I don't think that this movie has like a political agenda in any way. Like I said earlier, I think it's just a good representation of the times we live in. And the motivations for the characters to be in this part of Texas make complete sense. And on a meta level, they're great too. Which we can talk more about in the spoiler discussion. But
Yeah.
I don't think that it's a political statement, though, in any way. I really do think it's just, like you said, you're seeing remnants like you would in other movies from the past of the world that we live in. And it's still kind of escapist, It's not like it's, I don't know, I mean, it's escapist for me, at least, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So...
I don't know. I thought this was a great slasher.
Yes.
I thought that it had cool style. I thought it had great kills. I thought it had an amazing portrayal of Leatherface. This is leagues better than the last two we got. I mean, so much better in my opinion. I know there's people who love those movies, and that's fine. And that's what's so great about this kind of shit. This is why I get so annoyed with people when they're like, oh, they're making another one. It's like, dude, I know people who love Texas 3D. I know people who love this most recent Leatherface. I know people who love Texas Chainsaw 3. the original Leatherface, you know. I know people who love 2. I know people who actually are like huge defenders of the next generation, you know. And I love, like, even if you don't like them, I'm glad that everyone kind of has their movie.
Yeah, that's what's kind of cool about franchises like this, where you can have a favorite film and you're all still participating in the franchise and loving the characters, but you love that specific, like, you know, that version of it.
It just seems so, like, I don't know. It seems so dickish to me to, like, once you bow out of a franchise, once you feel like it's over, then the world should fucking, like, act according to your thoughts.
Oh, yeah. No,
right? Like, oh my God, they're still making those? I gave up on those, like, 3 movies ago. Yeah, but other people didn't.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, they're clearly watching them. They're making them for a reason.
Yes.
Like, if you don't like them, shut the fuck up about them and stop watching them. Like, oh, they're making another Saw movie? Like, oh God, I gave up after the first one. It was like torture porn. I don't know why anybody then don't fucking watch it, man. But people love them. So shut up.
Nobody's forcing you to watch movies that you don't want to watch. So
if they make another 100 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, another 1,000 Halloween movies, how does that affect your life? Don't watch them. Shut the fuck up.
Yes.
And just watch what you like.
100%.
That's all I have to say about
this movie, though, is 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
And
4 for gore. That's right.
It's wonderful.
Speaking of, we should have dressed up. I should have worn my freaking Dave and Chainsaw shirt. That would have been better than this. That would have been a deeper cut. But this movie's got some real deep cuts. There's some good stuff in here.
Good stuff.
Yeah. There's something that happens that really fucked her up. We actually had to rewind it. It's an aftermath thing that happens in a field.
Stay in my head for a while. I'm gonna see it when I go to bed. So.
And one last thing on the movie, there is a post-credit sequence after the entire credits. It's very minor, but I thought it was really cool.
It's great. It's
wonderful. You know, and I would 100,000,000% be super down.
Oh my gosh.
For another one.
So down.
From these people, from this director.
Yes.
But that's why I get so mad about these kinds of responses.
Sure.
It's because if I love it and I'm like, oh, I want another, they'll look at the response and they'll go, I guess people were like real indifferent, so we're not going to make another one. That's a shame. I hope
that doesn't happen.
I hope there's enough likings for this one.
Yeah.
That they greenlight another one, but I highly doubt it. But I'm happy enough to get this one.
Yeah. For sure.
And I would gladly take another one going in this direction. Can we get a sequel to a second movie for once?
Like an actual.
This is a sequel to the original, ignoring all others, which is now the 4th time they've done this in this franchise.
So we need an actual.
We need an actual third. Can we get an actual Texas Chainsaw 3?
Oh man.
They've made a Texas Chainsaw 3 that was just a sequel to the original. They made a Texas Chainsaw 3D that was just an original. Can we get a Texas Chainsaw 3 that's an actual third part?
That would be so
Come
good.
on.
Come on, guys.
Anyways, let us know what you think. I'm sure we're getting blasted in the comments telling people to get fucked. But for all those people, get fucked.
Get fucked. Bye.